Okay, so full disclosure here at the beginning. This isn't going to be a rant video about how terrible Star Wars is or anything. In fact, I think that Star Wars content is actually doing really well right now. The first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, the finale of The Clone Wars, and The Bad Batch have all been genuinely amazing. Especially The Bad Batch. I've been so surprised with the level of animation and writing quality that this silly cartoon has. Basically, I'm happy with Star Wars, and the last thing I want to do is just complain about it for no reason. That being said, there has been a small reoccurring problem that I think is worth mentioning, as it might grow into a bigger issue over time. In the first episode of The Bad Batch, we are shown a young Kanan Jarrus with his Jedi Master at the end of the Clone Wars during the events of Order 66. For those unfamiliar, Kanan Jarrus is a character from Star Wars Rebels, another Star Wars animated show that takes place several decades after the events of The Bad Batch. How Kanan survived Order 66 was never shown in Rebels, so beginning The Bad Batch off with an exciting and revealing scene such as this was a good way to start things off. During this scene, we see a short interaction between the Bad Batch group and the regular clones taking orders from their Jedi commander. After receiving the order from Chancellor Palpatine, all of the clones, including Crosshair from the Bad Batch, turn on the Jedi and kill Kanan's master. Kanan manages to flee but is tracked down by Crosshair and Hunter. While Crosshair attempts to kill him due to his chip activating, Hunter saves him by falsifying his death report. By all means, a fairly powerful and intriguing setup to start the show. The only problem is, we were already shown Kanan surviving Order 66 in a comic titled Star Wars Kanan, which was released on April 1st in 2015. In this story, Kanan's escape from the clones involves a clone, Commander Grey, sacrificing himself to save Kanan's life. It was really well done, and it perfectly served the needs of Kanan's story. If this comic was part of the Legends continuity, or the Star Wars material that was made non-canon by Disney when they acquired Star Wars, this contradiction would be fine. However, this comic was considered canon. What this situation is then is an example of retroactive continuity, or retcon for short. A retcon is essentially a literary device in which established lore or facts or story beats within the plot are adjusted, ignored, or contradicted by a following story which breaks the continuity for its own needs. There are many reasons why retcons occur, sometimes taking place because a writer forgets their story's continuity, but they can be intentional. In the case of The Bad Batch Episode 1, Dave Filoni and the writing team wanted to have the Bad Batch team take part in Order 66, but they needed them to interact with a Jedi character that they had already established, as the audience likely wouldn't be as emotionally invested if an entirely brand new Jedi that they had no familiarity with was the one that survived. So they decided to use Kanan Jarrus and retcon how he survived Order 66 to fit the needs of the Bad Batch story. This isn't the first time canon comic storylines have been retconned in Star Wars. In the finale for Star Wars The Clone Wars, Ahsoka's escape from Order 66 retconned a novel titled Ahsoka by E.K. Johnston, which told the story of how she escaped by faking her death on Mandalore. In what is currently the latest episode of The Bad Batch, we see bounty hunter Cad Bane return for his first animated appearance in 9 years. And it was sick. However, the problem is his death was already written and shown in one of the unfinished Clone Wars episodes. While those episodes might not have been completed, the Star Wars Story Group has always stated those episodes to be canon, so technically Cad Bane being alive in The Bad Batch is a retcon as well. I imagine that some think I'm exaggerating how much of an issue this is. I can see people thinking that some silly comic story that very few people read getting changed is not a big deal. However, there's a few reasons why these retcons are a problem. For one, it seems incredibly disrespectful to the original authors of the comics to just have their work dismissed and thrown to the wayside by the TV creators who treat their own work as more legitimate. Secondly, a franchise like Star Wars that is ever or expanding simply cannot get comfortable with retroactively changing established continuity whenever it feels fit. Otherwise, the already vast volume of story within the Star Wars universe would truly become incomprehensible if any work, whether a comic, a game, a TV show, a movie perhaps, could become non-canon at any moment. Think about how frustrating that would be as a fan. Even if just a few people read the comic, it's still a slap in the face to them, as those who do read the comics are likely to be the biggest Star Wars fans, and the comics exist as a means of satisfying the most hardcore fan interest in its characters. Altering those comics then just makes the whole investment fans give the comics pointless. Thirdly, basically none of the comics can be viewed as truly canon any longer. The precedent has been set that their material is at most work that can be adapted and sourced with creative license for the shows and movies. Any one of your favorite comic storylines could at any moment be completely dismissed if its material is adapted. So the novels and comics are only canon until they're not. So that's really cool. And finally, this is kind of a slippery slope. What if the writers for a movie look at the cartoons, such as the Clone Wars and Bad Batch, the same way the writers of those shows view the comics? Hopefully, Lucasfilm and Disney have learned their lesson from letting directors do whatever they want with Star Wars, and have a strong creative team that keeps the lore consistent. Anyway, I'll continue to watch each episode of The Bad Batch as they come out weekly, and so should you. The show is really great, and I'm glad Star Wars is doing well again. The best case scenario is my concern is unwarranted and doesn't have much basis in reality. Anyway, thanks for watching this video.